Good morning, everyone. It is Tech for Senior. It is June the 20th. It is our 117th show today. Wow. And we have a whole bunch of people, Hewie, that still want to listen to us.
Yeah, it's
76
great.
people in the audience. Yeah, that's great. That is so cool. I hope everybody had a happy and a great Father's Day. I had an interesting time. Of course, one of my daughters is an ICU nurse in Adelaide, Australia. She sent me a text message from the intensive care unit and said, "Dad, I can't call. I'm saving a life." And my other daughter is in Beijing, China, and so we had a great talk on Saturday, which was, of course, Sunday our time. So yes, it's different with kids being all over the world. It's if you have them and you can hold them and love them and enjoy them, like Dewey was telling us today in his pre-show warm-up, when they can come over for a great dinner is really a touching moment. And if you had that experience, that hopefully you had a great time and a really good time on Saturday or Sunday. Today is so it's going to be a great week. We have lots of things happening this week. Uh, of course, you probably all know we have two shows a week. We not only do this show, but we do Tech for Senior Live on Thursday, and we'll be having another great show on Thursday. We tape both these shows, and so they're available on our YouTube and Facebook page. This, of course, is a Zoom broadcast, and we broadcast this over to YouTube. But on Thursday, it's a
StreamYard.
StreamYard, yeah, StreamYard, Seniors Phone, StreamYard, and we broadcast that, of course, to Facebook and YouTube. Now we podcast our Thursday show, so if you want even more of us, you can certainly listen to our podcast. We also have a premiere service that will be starting today at 1:30. And today, I'm going to be talking on Ethernet cables, things that you need to know about that. And Hewie, did you know you're a Twitter expert? You're talking on Twitter today. Twitter for seniors. There you go. And I'm going to talk about taking pictures on your Chromebook. So those are the topics we have today on our Tech First, or the Premier service. I put in the show notes the link to the. I'll put in the show notes the link to the YouTube feed, and it went out in our Saturday newsletter as well. So if you want to stick around, that comes on at 1:30. So
We have something else this week too, don't we, Ron?
I'm trying to think, what else are we doing this week? I can't remember.
Thursday, we have Learning Chromebooks.
Learning Chromebooks, that's right. Isn't that? Yes,
we forget.
We do. Yeah, that. And when is that?
That's Thursday.
Yeah, it's right after.
At 2:00 real time.
Yeah.
Eastern time.
Right after our live show, eh?
That's correct.
And how would people find out about that? Where would they register? Do you know?
Well, they go to www.techforsenior.com, and there's a place that they can click on and register, and they'll get a link for the meeting.
There you go. Well, I'm glad you're on the ball today and reminding everyone about that. That's great, Hewie. Thanks so much. So remember, Learning Chromebooks this Thursday.
And if you're registered, you will get a reminder sometime later today, and then you'll get another one on Wednesday.
Excellent. I want to thank Sam Hill for his generous donation to our coffee fund. The other thing we're going to discuss briefly, not now because I don't have enough time to do that, but in the question and answer, I wanted just to briefly mention the problem of Outlook and Gmail. We touched on that in our Thursday show last week, and I just wanted to mention that, and we'll bring that up, and I want to do a little chat about that so if you are having problems, we'll talk about that in our question and answer. The other thing that's happened, and if you look at behind me here, you'll see that there is a tombstone, and it's the death of Internet Explorer. Bob's going to tell us a little bit about that today. This was created by a fella in Southeast Asia, and he actually had a regular tombstone made, took some pictures of it and sent it out via, and it's become viral. And so finally, I think it's the nail in the coffin and Internet Explorer, or maybe it isn't. Bob is going to tell us all about that today. Let's just quickly introduce everybody. Of course, you've already heard Hewie Poplock, right? Hewie, you had a good week?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I've got a session for today talking about some of Bob's realm, but some things that people need to be reminded of. And then, of course, I'm getting ready for the Learning Chromebooks on Thursday.
Right. Bob, you got to be careful of Hewie. He's going to be stepping on your toes with this security stuff, eh?
No, the more the merrier.
I think there's room for a lot of talk.
You got it. There is a lot of talk about it. And unfortunately, we still have people that don't want to listen.
All right, there you go. Ray, how the heck are you doing?
I'm doing fine. You know, Ron, what I did over the weekend was something that I have not done since the last time I saw you in person.
Gee, let me think now. That'd be down in Mesa?
And down in Mesa, I gave a presentation. On Saturday, I gave a presentation at the Computer Society of Prescott.
Oh, like an in-person presentation?
An in-person one. It was
really?
The first one they had in several years. They do hybrid meetings, so it's a combination. So we had about maybe a dozen people in person in the audience and another dozen on Zoom. So it went very well. And then we spent the rest of the weekend with friends in Prescott. So
yeah, good. There you go. And Prescott's not that far from Pine, is it?
Well, it's on the other side of the I-17, so it's an hour and a half.
An hour and a half. Oh, okay.
Hour and 20 minutes.
Hour 20. All right. Bill James, Oklahoma.
Doing fine here.
Right.
I'm going to be giving a couple tips and tricks for the program today, and I have my gadget article written, so we're doing fine. The weather's fairly decent. It's not overly hot, but it's going to heat up a bit.
And it's great that we'll see what you're. So that's the other thing I forgot to mention, everyone, is our newsletter. We have a newsletter out twice a week, and Bill has a gadget for us in the Tuesday newsletter. And so that'd be great. Yeah, we're looking forward to that tomorrow. And of course, we have a guest today, and that's Mike Ungerman. Mike's going to be talking today about solar panels and solar energy. A hot topic today. Is that a bad pun? A hot topic on with gas prices going up, energy prices going up. Is solar the way to go? And Mike's is doing actually a multi-part series on this, and we're lucky enough to have him do it on Tech for Senior. So you'll learn all about it on Tech for Senior. Mike's going to stick around. You can stick around in the Q&A and answer any questions, Mike.
Be happy to.
Excellent, thank you. So thanks so much, Mike, for doing that. Let's get going with the show. Bob, are you ready to roll?
I sure hope so.
There you go.
Here is the Avast Security News Roundup for the week ending June 17th, 2022. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and get involved. Meta bridges 2D and 3D with CRADA. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced last week that user-generated tools like CRADA will help bridge the 2D gaming experience on Facebook with the 3D world of the metaverse. Meta acquired CRADA last year when it bought Unity 2 Games. The company has since beefed up the user-generated content tool so that it renders in the cloud. Historically, if you wanted to have something like this run this high quality of a 3D environment, that would be really hard to render in a browser or on phones. But being able to do it with cold infrastructure and then send it down across the network after having already rendered it in the cloud is a pretty big advance, said Zuckerberg during the announcement, when he joined CRADA creators in-game to rebuild a facsimile of Meta's campus courtyard. For more on this story, see Venture Beat. Adobe patches 46 flaws. At least 46 flaws are covered in the new batch of patches pushed out by Adobe for this month's Patch Tuesday. Adobe warned of critical code execution flaws that could expose both Windows and Mac OS users to malicious hacker attacks. The most serious of the flaw affected Adobe Animate, Adobe Bridge, Adobe Illustrator, Adobe InCopy, and Adobe InDesign. The company said it has seen no evidence yet that any of the bugs were exploited in zero-day attacks. For more details on the individual patches, see Security Week. Telegram monitors groups in Brazil for misinformation. With elections looming in October, the president of the Brazilian Supreme Electoral Court met this month with Telegram's Vice President Hewie Poplock to discuss initiatives that would staunch the flow of misinformation on the social media site. Poplock announced that posts identified as lacking context or containing possibly false information will be flagged as potential sources of misinformation and would be forwarded to Telegram's fact-checking channels for analysis. Telegram users will also be able to flag and report potentially false content themselves. If the information proves to be verified, it will then be published. For more on this, see ZDNet. Heartbleed uses dynamic voltage and frequency scaling to steal encryption keys. Researchers have discovered a new vulnerability that could allow remote attackers to obtain cryptographic keys and other secret data from microprocessors built by Intel, AMD, and other companies. The bug allows for a form of power analysis attack, which is when hackers extract cryptographic data from a chip by measuring the power it consumes while processing those values. Researchers found that power analysis attacks can be performed as side-channel exploits when attackers use the dynamic voltage and frequency scaling to deduce the changes in power consumption by monitoring the time it takes for a server to respond to specific, carefully made queries. The researchers have dubbed the exploit Heartbleed because it uses DVFS insights to bleed out the data. For more on this, see Ars Technica. Australian government mandates the Essential 8. The Australian Cybersecurity Centre published a set of 8 objectives in 2017 called the Essential 8, designed to help organizations protect themselves from cybersecurity incidents. Initially, the Australian government only mandated that companies adhere to 4 of the security controls in the first objective. But starting this month, all non-corporate Commonwealth entities in the country are required to comply with the entire framework. The 8 objectives include application control, patching applications, configuring Microsoft Office macro settings, using application hardening, restricting administrative privileges, patching operating systems, implementing multi-factor authentication, and creating regular backups. For more details, see the Hacker News. Black Cat ransomware enters system through unpatched Microsoft Exchange. Black Cat, one of the first ransomware families written in the Rust programming language, entered the stage in November of 2021. Lately, it's been among the most active ransomware gangs. This week, threat intelligence and Italian media hinted that the University of Pisa in Italy might have been hit by Black Cat ransomware. The group allegedly asked the university to pay $4.5 million by the 16th of June. According to the cybersecurity analyst Anzer Way, Black Cat is one of the most active ransomware gangs, responsible for approximately 12% of the total attacks observed. The only 2 more operative groups are Lockbit 2.0, responsible for nearly 4 in 10 attacks observed, and Conti 23%. On Monday, Microsoft released a blog detailing the Black Cat ransomware threat. The company has observed successful attacks against Windows and Linux devices and VMware instances. Read the full article at Cyber News. This week's must-read on the Avast blog. With the recent findings from our Digital Wellbeing Report, we remain committed to not only helping people stay safe and free online, but also researching and reporting on how everyone's online life can be improved. Read the full article at the link listed. And that wraps up this week's Avast Security News Roundup. Stay safe, stay secure, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye. Internet Explorer is dead. Or is it? The day has finally arrived. Microsoft has killed off Internet Explorer. Or has it? The answer to that is, well, sort of. For quite some time, Microsoft has maintained Internet Explorer and Microsoft Edge. Edge was the new and safer choice, but Microsoft kept patching the old and insecure Internet Explorer. As of 6/15/2022, Microsoft will no longer be patching IE, and it will eventually be removed by an update from those systems that still have IE installed. If you're using Windows 11, Internet Explorer was never part of your system. If you're on a system that still has Internet Explorer installed, the safest thing you can do is to disable it. The following YouTube link will show you just how to do that. Just follow the link listed. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and get involved. If you find a website that will only render properly in Internet Explorer, simply open that site in Edge. Essentially, IE mode in Edge places a secure sandbox version of Internet Explorer within Edge, which can be used by corporations and consumers alike to access sites in Internet Explorer, either because of corporate requirements or just plain familiarity. But Microsoft basically feels that Edge is the better tool to access those sites anyway. Internet Explorer will eventually be phased out of Edge, but that is not planned until 2029, and that's not certain. For a full explanation of this topic, look at the following article in PC World. Just follow the link listed. Stay safe, stay secure, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bob. So it's sort of dead, but maybe not quite.
Yeah, right. They're still trying to revive it.
Well, I must say, I haven't seen any sites I've been on in the last, probably 5 years that require it, eh?
Virtually, Internet Explorer is not really being used anymore, unless it's mandated by the company you work for, or some things that can only be rendered in IE.
Right.
For most of us, it's the dead subject.
Dead subject. As you can see.
As you can see right behind you, correct.
All right. Dave, we're going to do Q&As at the end of the session, okay? I know you've got your hand up, but we're going to do the question. We're going to reserve the questions till the end of the show. Bill, have you got, are you ready to roll? Bill,
I'm ready.
You are on. You are the man.
All right. If you want to see the power user menu in Windows 10 or 11, press the Windows logo key and X together to call up the power users menu. Then you can see lots of Windows settings, including system, device, phone, network, and internet, personalization, apps, accounts, time and language, gaming, ease of access, privacy, and update and security. If you want to boot into safe mode in Windows 10 and 11, safe mode is useful in troubleshooting computer issues like Windows like Windows 10 and 11 not booting. Unlike Windows 7, Windows 10 safe mode is not the easiest to access, making it one of Windows 10 and 11's hidden features. But you can still find it as long as you follow these steps. Step 1, press the Shift key and hold, then click the Restart button. Step 2, when you see the blue screen, follow this path. Troubleshoot, Advanced Options, Startup Settings, Restart, and then press number 4 on your keyboard to enable the safe mode. Your computer will then restart and you'll be in safe mode. Have you heard of the Cloud Clipboard? Cloud Clipboard allows you to seamlessly copy and paste text, links, and pictures across multiple devices. To bring up the Cloud Clipboard menu, hit the Windows key plus V. This will cause the Cloud Clipboard to appear, showing the content previously clipped and copied, including text, HTML, and images less than 1 megabyte in size. Copied text in this clipboard history can also be shared across all devices that are signed into the same Microsoft account, providing that the text is less than 100 kilobytes in size. To select the piece of the content from the clipboard history, left-click on it, then select Paste from the drop-down menu or hit Control-V, and you can paste that selected content wherever you want. Oops. Change the default program. Sometimes when you are annoyed that the default app has made a change, let's say Chrome is your default browser, but suddenly Edge takes over. In fact, you can roll back such settings in simple steps. Go to the Start menu, choose Settings, Apps, Default Apps, and then in the right panel, choose your own default app in each category. That's all you need to do. If you want to roll back to a previous version, and this is probably a good feature if you want to try, if your computer is capable of running Windows 11 and you'd like to try it, you could go ahead and upgrade to the Windows 11, and if you later decide that you don't like it, you can roll it back. This is one of the great features that allows users to roll back the operating system to any features that's added, and one of the most useful previous versions, useful within that you can do within 30 days. To roll it back, you do the following. You right-click the Start menu, click Settings, and then choose Update and Security. Next step is to, in the new pop-up setting window, click Recovery. And then step 3, scroll down to find the Go Back to an Earlier Build option and click Get Started. And then just follow the on-screen instructions to finish the recovery. Some additional tips are, and these are some that are most commonly used and are considered kind of hidden features. If you hold the Shift key down when dragging a file or folder to the recycle bin, it will delete that file permanently. If you hold down the Alt and then double click on a file or folder to open, you can open its properties. To open a command prompt window, you could press the Windows logo key plus R at the same time and run command, or you can type command or the CMD in the address bar of the File Explorer and press enter. If you want to quickly create a shortcut, hold down Control plus Shift and then drag and drop the file or folder icon in the desired destination folder. Press Control plus Shift and then right-click on the taskbar. You will then see the option to exit Explorer in the last row. And that concludes our tips.
Thanks, Bill. Just stop sharing your screen there. Perfect. Thanks a lot. I was practicing those on my other computer as you were going along. That's cool. You probably want to play those back. Well, of course, we'll have this up online by the end of the day, so people will probably want to play that back and rehearse that. But those are good. Thanks so much for doing that, Bill.
You're welcome.
Okay. And Hewie, I think you're up.
I am ready. Preventing hacking and staying secure is your responsibility. I'm Hewie Poplock. Last week, one of my neighbors rang my doorbell carrying her laptop. She had received a warning on her computer that she had an infected computer and immediately dialed the number in the warning and started speaking with someone who wanted access to her computer, which she gave him. And then when he wanted $329 to fix the problem, she realized she had done the wrong thing, hung up on him, logged off of the internet, and brought her computer to me immediately and said, "I know I did wrong. What can I do to fix it?" Last week, another one of my neighbors also came to me, had one of these warnings, and had done something similar. The majority of hacking is due to end users intentionally executing socially engineered Trojans that show up as fake antivirus software, malicious video codecs, fake patches, needed software drivers, and pop-up messages. Make sure your computers are protected by comprehensive anti-malware software, including antivirus, anti-spam, and anti-phishing capabilities. Better yet, ensure your browsers are also protected. Anti-malware software is far from perfect. To avoid phishing scams, check for mistakes, keep your software updated, install an antivirus app, use two-factor authentication, create backups, never send your private info, and don't click strange links. So which phishing scams are trending in 2022? Phishing scams trending in 2022 was phishing, spear phishing, whaling, vishing, sugar daddy scams, sextortion, email scams, and cryptocurrency scams. Phishing scams are often focused on a large group because at least one member will be tricked into placing themselves on the hook. However, rather than focusing on a particular target, basic phishing casts a vast net by using tools such as emails with malicious attachments included, social media messages, SMS, phone calls, and even creating fake websites for companies and organizations. Spear phishing, much like the previous analogy on phishing, spear phishing requires a lot of dedication and a single-minded focus on your target. Ideally, by the time your query is aware of your intentions, it's already too late to react. Whaling. Targets of whaling tend to be figures of immense political, financial, and social status. Vishing. A new update to a classic scam. Vishing involves the use of Voice over Internet Protocol, or VoIP, to spoof phone numbers from family, friends, loved ones, and businesses, government officials, and more. Sugar daddy scams. For those unfamiliar with the phrase sugar daddy, it refers to an act of old and wealthier individuals effectively purchasing the love and affection of younger partners. Sextortion. Email scams. This scam generally starts with an email containing digital footage or images of the victim using their webcam, screenshots of their computer screen, and other compromising pictures and information. Schemers convince the victim that they own the photos or recordings and threaten to send them to their friends, family, and employers, or start spreading them across various social media platforms. Cryptocurrency scams, regardless of the long-term performance of cryptocurrency market, one indisputable fact is that scammers will not be far behind where cryptocurrency goes. Smishing is a combination of the words short message services, SMS, and phishing. Today, cyber criminals often carry out smishing attacks because people tend to trust text messages more than emails. It's this mistaken trust that may have led to smishing scams increasing by more than 300% within the last 2 years. Now, here are some examples of smishing. The urgent message about your credit card with a link, and it will not be the actual link that you're expecting. The your bank account is locked type of smishing. Again, a fake link. The you won a prize, click here to get it text. The clearly fake but also funny smishing attack. And the unusual account activity. What you can do to avoid being smished. Although nobody can fully stop smishing attacks, here are a few ways to protect yourself and your company against them. Don't click on URLs you get in text messages or other forms of communication unless you know and trust the sender. Even if the text was sent to you by a friend, you should make sure they meant to send it. Do not respond to text messages from people you don't know from an unknown number or a phone number that doesn't look like one. Only download apps from official app stores. Do not enter your sensitive information on suspicious websites the attacker directs you to. Do not take action required by companies via text message. Choose to contact them using a method you trust, such as a telephone call, instead to verify the text was legit and not a scam. And report any suspicious texts you receive and block the number without replying. Malicious email attachments are designed to launch an attack on users' computer. The attachments within these malicious emails can be disguised as documents, PDFs, emails, e-files, and voicemails. Attackers attach these files to emails that can install malware capable of destroying data and stealing information. You receive what seems to be an innocent-looking email from someone you know well, or at least know by name. The email will include an attachment that seems to go with the message of the email. If the message says something about a picture or a video you have to see, the picture will have the name that seems to fit. If you open it, you're on your way to trouble. If there's a virus hidden in that email, it's usually one of these few types. An attachment, either a virus program that's attached to an email message with a name that sounds intriguing. An HTML virus called an active content code, and is a small program written in the software language such as JavaScript or ActiveX. The HTML virus goes to work when you open the message to read it. In fact, the virus can be launched even if you simply open the message preview window. A multi-purpose internet mail extension virus called a MIME virus takes advantage of a security gap in browsers and email programs. Here's how I protect myself. I use a program called Mailwasher Pro. You'll see that all of my emails come in to one program called Mailwasher. I'm able to view the emails without having the HTML show. If I wanted to open up that email, I can do so. It's still in text at this point. You'll notice where it says view in HTML. When I do that, it shows me the HTML, but not any remote content. In other words, a picture or information on a website or somewhere on the internet. When I click show remote content, it then shows the photo. In my Outlook, I have my messages opening in plain text format, and it looks like this. If I click where it says to convert it from plain text format, I can display it as HTML. When I click on that, then I see the message like this. This protects me if there's any malware or anything embedded in the message. And if it's something I don't need to read, I can delete it before I even open up the HTML coding. To set that up, you go to the File tab in Outlook, go to Options, click the Trust Center, and then click Trust Center Settings, click Email Security, and then under the Read as Plain Text, select the Read All Standard Mail in Plain Text as you see on the right. Here are some things you can do in your daily online activities to help prevent yourself from being phished, including taking a moment to examine the email or message for any misspellings or the lack of business greeting, ensuring that your smartphone, PC, tablet, or other electronic devices are set up to automatically do security updates, purchase robust antivirus, anti-malware software for protecting valuable data, using multi-factor authentication wherever possible and to reduce the likelihood of your accounts being compromised, creating backups of your data using external hard drives or cloud computing services, never sending information like your credit card number or social security card via email or text, not clicking on suspicious links or opening attachments on unexpected emails, and using spam filters. This has been Preventing Hacking and Staying Secure. That's your responsibility. I'm Hewie Poplock.
Well, thanks, Hewie. I would say with the smishing scams, you said don't talk to people who you don't know, but I'm going to tell you that probably most of the smishing scams are people you know or think you know, right? They're coming from your phone company or your bank or something like that. And I think we're less likely to look at the URL on a text message than we are when we're getting it on an email. I think you're sort of making some bad assumptions there. And I know that some people in this room in our meeting today have been smished and with disastrous consequences.
Yeah, I do say to be careful, but I also had to leave out some things because of time. But I did go and I did have some explanations of that. But yes, you've got to be very, very careful. You tend to trust text messages more than you do.
And that's a fundamental bad decision, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, don't trust. And actually, I would never click a link in a text message. Like, I don't know what Bob thinks about that, but I would never, ever do that.
I have a video out on that, have had for quite some time.
Right. Okay. Steve, we'll get to questions in a second. At the end, we have for everyone, we have a Q&A at top of the hour, and we'll be talking about all those issues. We should have lots of questions. Now, what we've all been waiting for, solar energy. I want to thank again Steve Ungerman for doing this. And so let's see what Steve can tell, or Mike can tell us about solar energy.
I'm Mike Ungerman of the Central Florida Computer Society. I became interested in using solar energy to help defray the expenses of our electrical utility bill a number of years ago. This is a picture of the roof on our home about 5 years ago, after researching the use of a solar collector for hot water heating and planning and installing the first of 2 phases of solar photovoltaic electric power generation. Today's presentation will be the first of several addressing the use of solar energy in an owned home. Thus follows an introductory overview. Solar energy is abundant, accessible, and increasingly affordable. As costs have fallen, more and more people are going solar in one or more methods. According to the Solar Energy Independent Association, there are now over 3 million solar electric installations in the U.S., producing over 126 gigawatts of energy. Shown here are 3 of the major rooftop uses of solar energy. In addition to producing electrical power, solar can be used to produce hot water, replacing less efficient and more costly hot water heating systems. Also prevalent for swimming pool owners are solar pool heating systems, although many times a cost trade-off of electrical pool heating powered by electricity from a solar voltaic system may be more economical and make better use of the available space on your roof. Solar energy comes, obviously, from the sun. So you need a system that includes solar panels placed either on a roof or a rack located on your property and properly aligned for the best efficiency in collecting the solar energy. Wiring from the panels will lead to electrical boxes that convert the energy for use in your home and control whether excess energy can be sent to the utility company grid. Solar panels produce direct current, or DC, which must be converted to alternating current, or AC, to be integrated with your home's electrical system. The box or boxes that do this are called inverters. Shown here is a string inverter that takes the panel's DC energy and converts it to AC, usually located in a single box on the side of the home. The AC power is then integrated with the home's electrical panels, and a two-way power meter keeps track of any excess energy produced by the system, which is sent to the utility grid for credit to your regular bill. During periods when the panels do not produce energy, 100% of your home uses the grid for power. This grid-tied system does not include any battery storage for use at night or cloudy days. A second method of converting DC to AC is the microinverter. In this configuration, multiple small inverters are located on or adjacent to each solar panel in your system, thus converting the DC to AC and the voltage necessary for your home at the source instead of requiring high voltage DC lines running to your utility panels. Otherwise, the system works pretty much the same as a standalone inverter, with excess energy being sent to the grid. Again, in this configuration, no batteries are supported, although recent technology developments now allow battery storage systems to be used with microinverters. As stated before, the previous configurations did not include battery backups to store excess energy from the solar production, and then send it to the home at night or periods of cloudiness that prevent efficient energy production. And until recently, solar systems employing battery storage had to be configured with standalone string inverter systems as shown in this diagram. Now, some manufacturers have developed microinverter-based solar systems that can include battery storage and backup. This excellent video shows how different configurations of solar PV systems may be deployed using the different types of inverters, including a configuration that takes the advantage of microinverters and combines them with the lower costs of string inverters.
In a photovoltaic solar system, the inverters convert the DC electricity produced by the solar panels into AC electricity. Till today, the vast majority of solar systems use string inverters. In these systems, the solar panels are wired in series to form a string. Solar panels wired in series add more voltage to a string. One or more strings are wired to an inverter in parallel connection to add more current or amps. String inverters have a limited power range, and large solar systems need several inverters. This system is used all over the world and has proven to be the most cost-effective system, but there are a few drawbacks. The first major drawback occurs when a part of the solar panels are shaded. When one or more panels produce less energy, the power output from the whole string is reduced to the level of its weakest panel. This can drastically reduce the power output of the whole system. Areas that are known to get shade cannot be used to install solar panels. This reduces the amount of utilized roof space. Secondly, for each string inverter to work properly, every string must have an equal number of solar panels. They all have to be installed in the same angle, and all panels have to be of the same type. This doesn't affect a larger solar system much, but for smaller solar systems, it can be quite a challenge to meet these three criteria and design the most productive configuration that fits on the roof. If you want to install panels on different sides of the roof facing different directions, you would need an extra inverter for every different angle, which is most likely not cost efficient in a small system. This is another major drawback. There is also a safety issue with traditional string inverter systems. In case of emergency, the utility grid can be shut down, but not the solar panels. The panels will keep producing electricity as long as the sun is shining. During a power cut, the inverter will stop the electricity from flowing into the power lines, but the cables from the roof to the inverter will still be under high tension. To solve the problems of a string inverter system, the solar industry had to come up with a solution. Today, there are two options available in the market: microinverters and DC power optimizers. Microinverters came first. In a system with microinverters, the function of one big inverter is split into many little inverters. The microinverters are installed under every solar panel and convert the electricity from DC to AC right there under the panel. Every microinverter can be connected directly to the grid independent from other microinverters in the system. When one panel gets shaded, it will not affect the performance of other panels. The right voltage is found through a technique called maximum power point tracking, or MPPT. When maximum power point is applied at panel level instead of a system as a whole, performance will naturally increase. The configuration of a system with microinverters is very flexible. Solar panels can be installed in various angles, and different types of solar panels and microinverters can be added to the system. For safety reasons, when the power fails, microinverters shut down and stop feeding electricity into the cables. Microinverters are rapidly gaining popularity, particularly for residential solar systems, but they are far more expensive than systems with regular string inverters. When DC power optimizers were introduced, they became a more affordable option. This system splits the traditional inverter in two products: a power optimizer and a simplified inverter. The power optimizers are located under each panel, turning them into intelligent modules. By using panel-level tracking and real-time adjustments of current and voltage, the power optimizers maximize system output to the optimal working point of each panel. When one or more panels are shaded or face different directions, the performance of each string is optimized such that the underperforming panels do not affect the output of the other panels in the string. Compared to the limited design of traditional string inverter systems, systems with power optimizers are very flexible. It enables connection of much longer strings, and different types of solar panels can be added. For safety reasons, during a power cut, the power optimizers reduce the power output of each panel to a low and safe voltage. Microinverters and power optimizers are also referred to as module-level power electronics, or MLPEs. A great benefit of systems with MLPEs is that the performance of each panel can be monitored individually. The performance of each panel is sent to a database, and authorized people can log in to a website to view the status of the system. This is a great benefit for maintenance workers. They can remotely analyze the problem and come to the site prepared to perform the maintenance. Overall, systems with MLPEs are more efficient and will produce more power than a similar system with a traditional string inverter. They are still more expensive than a traditional system, but prices are falling as their popularity grows. MLPEs have better durability, a longer lifespan, and they come with a longer warranty period.
So we've taken an initial look at the potential for an individual homeowner to utilize solar energy to help power their homes. We've seen some configurations of the equipment and wiring that is required. In future presentations, we will examine the process of analyzing whether solar PV is a good option for your home and how to go about the planning and purchasing processes. And I'll just note that as I sit here watching that pre-recorded video, everything that's in my office and in the house is currently being powered by our solar PV system on the roof because it's a nice sunny day here in Florida.
That's great. Mike, I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions about this. So we look forward to those questions in our Q&A. I've already got a bunch that I want to ask you as well. So that's great. Good presentation. Thanks so much. Now, for those of you who are over on our YouTube feed, I want to say goodbye to you now before we start our music segment. Please see us again. If you want to pop over into the into our meeting and participate in the Q&A, we have lots of room for you, so you can certainly pop over and do that. I put the link for the Premier service in the chat notes, so you can certainly participate in our Premier service, which will be 1/2 the hour. So until we see you YouTube people again, have a great week, and Ray, take it away.
From Rags to Riches, a story about Jewel. So among the UCDs my wife picked up at the local library fundraiser last month, remember 3 for $1? There were 2 by a singer who goes only by her first name, Jewel. Shortly after her birth in 1974, the family moved from Utah to Anchorage. And then when she was 7 years old, her parents divorced and she went to live with her father in the much smaller Alaska community of Homer. Jewel is quoted that where she lived, there was, quote, no running water, no heat. We had a coal stove and an outhouse, and we mainly lived off what we could kill or can, unquote. As a youngster, Jewel would often sing as a duo with her dad in roadhouses and taverns. By the age of 15, with financial help from the local community and a partial scholarship, she moved to Michigan to attend an arts academy where she received classical training and learned to play the guitar. So upon graduation, Jewel moved to San Diego to be near her mother and briefly lived in her van while performing at small venues in Southern California. It was here she was discovered by a talent agent who had a connection with Atlantic Records that signed Jewel to a contract for her first album, Pieces of You, in 1995, when she was only 21 years old. The album generated 3 songs that went on to become top 10 hits. Jewel tried her hand as an actor, appearing in the 1999 film Ride with the Devil, and has written several poetry books. In addition to touring steadily, her television appearances over the years include Nashville Star, Dancing with the Stars, and The Voice. Most recently, she was the winning contestant on the 6th season of The Masked Singer. So from humble beginnings, this American singer-songwriter, actress, and author has gone on to receive 4 Grammy Award nominations and has sold over 30 million albums worldwide. So with the celebration yesterday of Father's Day, and myself having 3 daughters and a stepdaughter, the song My Father's Daughter could not be more appropriate. This clip includes a cameo from another rags to riches lady who was also widely known just by her first name. Okay.
Great, Ray. Well done. Good Father's Day.
I thought it was very appropriate.
Very, very appropriate. Absolutely. Well, it's another hour's gone by, another show. We're going to open the Q&A up in just a minute. But if you have to leave, don't forget the Premier service, and I put the link in the show notes for everyone. But the link is today. I'll be talking on Ethernet cables. Huey's going to talk on Twitter for seniors, learn all about what Twitter is, and I'm going to talk about taking pictures on your Chromebook. So we want to, and don't forget, if you have to leave, on Thursday, we have our show, Tech for Senior Live, which is a StreamYard broadcast to our Facebook and YouTube page. And then, of course, we have our podcast as well. So enjoy yourself, and we'll open the Q&A up now. Now, I see, we have Bill and Bob. Bill and Bob, would you mind if I mention my the Outlook and Gmail first? Can I bring those issues up, and then we'll do your questions? Is that okay?
Yeah, don't forget Drew also had his hand up.
I wanted to bring this up and I said I would mention this in the Q&A because it's a big problem that has come up, and I wanted just to briefly just mention this to everyone. And it has to do if you're using Outlook and you use Gmail. And well, it actually has to do with your Google account. And so if you're not using Outlook, don't worry about it. You don't need to know this. But for those of you, and this is being, of course, on Leo Laporte's show, which I listen to all the time, a flood of calls coming in as well. So the issue is this: you use Outlook to look at Gmail. Now, many of you are using Outlook for specific reasons, but if you, but the issue is when you go to use Outlook to get your Gmail, when you click on check mail, you get a Google prompt saying, put in your Google password. And this is unusual because you haven't had that before. You put in your Google password and it doesn't work. And you then think you've forgotten the password and you try it again. And of course, you're worried about the fact that if you put it in too many times, of course, it's going to lock you out. So then you get out of Outlook and you go to your Google account and you log in and you see there's nothing wrong with your password. And many people make the mistake of in fact changing their password, and then they go back into Outlook, try it all again, and of course it won't work. So and you keep doing this cycle until you change the password so many times you get locked out of Google. And this is a big problem, and it's creating a headache for everybody. So I wanted to tell you that, first of all, there's nothing you're doing wrong. This is a change that has occurred because of the two-factor authentication that Google, of course, has implemented across the board. Now, in our Wednesday, and I'll put in our in the chat a link to a video that shows you how to correct this. But what you need to do is to go into your Google account and make sure that two-factor authentication is turned on. In the security section, you'll go down and see that there is, in the security tab, you'll go down and see that there's actually a app security password, and you can get security a single password for those unique applications. So you go down and look at email, and you'll be able to create a unique password for your email software. Let's say it's 1234. Now, when you go back into Outlook and you now check for Gmail and you want it, and it brings it up and it asks you for your Google password, you don't put your Google password in. You use your email app specific password 1234, and it will work fine for you. So I just wanted to bring that up to everybody to let you know. Now, I know that Ray and Hewie use Outlook because of specific reasons. They have multiple email accounts coming from different sources. And so that's for sure a good thing. And there's nothing wrong with Outlook. But I would suggest, if you are using Outlook, just because it's always the thing you've done to check Gmail, and that's the only thing you do, just use the web-based client for Gmail. I wouldn't go through Outlook. I think there's problems associated with that. It's just so much easier just to get Gmail. If all you're using Outlook is to get Gmail, then just use the Gmail web client. That's all I had to say about that. I'll put the link to the video in the chat notes. That tells you exactly how to fix this, and then we can move on. We talked about this on our Thursday show, and I just wanted to bring it up on our show today. Go ahead, Bill. Sorry for taking some time here. Go ahead.
No question. I was just going to comment on what Huey and you were talking about as far as clicking on a link in Messenger, or I did that by not really knowing better, and it really caused all kinds of issues. That by doing so, it hijacked my contact list and sent messages to everyone in that list. And the thing that caught me was at the time, someone I knew was very ill. And so the message came up and said, "Guess who died?" And I clicked on it, and that was not a good thing to do. So just be careful, because it will hijack your email contact list.
And it can also be coming from someone who you know. I know that a friend of mine got scammed. It came from their telephone company because they were expecting a credit back. And here the text message came and it said, "Here's your credit." So they were actually thinking, let's get the credit. Boom, and clicked on it, and it wasn't them at all, right? So
Yes.
it can be usually from someone you know. Thanks, Bill. Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, two things. Bill, and it's also been brought up in the chat, you had mentioned that revert back to the old operating system. You said 30 days. It's actually 10 days. You cannot go beyond it, right?
Thank you.
Okay, so
Yes,
you've got 10
correct.
days in which to revert. And the other thing was for the music we heard today. That young lady, doesn't her family have a TV show about Alaska that takes place, I believe, in Homer?
I don't know much more about Jewel than what I expressed, but
Yeah,
that would not
because
surprise me.
Jewel is a daughter of one of the people in that weekly show. I know, because my wife watches it religiously and has for years.
Wow, good to know.
There you go. Thanks, Bob. Dorothy, go ahead.
Good morning. I just wondered if it's complicated to change my Microsoft email address because of the ISP merger we're going through here in BC. I need to use a new email address other than my @shaw.ca.
Oh, I see what you want to do, other than the shot. Well, I wouldn't make any decision at the table. I mean, the merger is going to take a lot of years. It may not be coming too quickly. So I'm not sure, I guess it really depends on what you want as an email. Do you want to use Gmail?
Well, I have a Gmail, and then I just created a new @outlook.com to start the process of letting all my important people know what my new email will be.
Right.
So
whether you use Outlook or whether you use Gmail, Mike has suggested Proton Mail. They're all good. They're all good choices. And I don't really. It's really a personal decision, up to you, and which one you want to use.
no, well, I mean the email address you use when you build your Windows 10 or 11 computer, you have to put an email
Oh, I
address
see what
in.
you want to use.
So I need to change that email address from the current ISP.
Right.
It's your email address is just a user ID. It won't, even if that email address goes away, it won't affect your Microsoft account.
Oh, okay.
I've got an email address I haven't used in years, and it doesn't exist anymore because it was with a company that no longer exists. But the to sign into the account that I of a website, I use that address. It still is good. It's just a username.
Yeah, because I mean, when I get my Windows 11 computer, I will of course use not the @shaw.ca. That's disappearing eventually. So
Yeah.
Also keep in mind that Outlook, the web-based, is not the same as Outlook
I know.
that Ron was talking about.
I know. I use the paid for version of Outlook and always have and always will.
Right. That's
Yeah.
right, because Outlook is a software program,
Yeah.
but it's also Outlook.com can be an email address. So there's two things that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ray.
I wanted to tell Mike, I really enjoyed his presentation, thought it was very well done.
Yep.
And I have a little bit of an off-the-wall question. My thinking on electric cars is in the future that really we should have solar panels on the roof and the trunk and the hood of a car to retrieve the electricity and forget about the heavy duty and expensive batteries. Mike, do you think that's a possibility in the future?
The biggest problem is the output of the individual solar cells. There are a couple of brands, I think VW is one of them, that have a group of solar cells on their roof, but the only thing it's doing is running the electrical air conditioning in the car at the moment.
Okay. Thank you.
Drew, go ahead.
Thank you. I just had two quick comments. One is at the beginning when everybody is covering the news and they have a link to something in their news article, I have found it difficult to capture that hyperlink before they continue on to their next slide. If anybody else is having that problem, the solution that I found is to press the menu key Shift and S to do a screen capture of that hyperlink so that you can look at it later.
Right. Don't forget, Drew, we tape this show as well. And so by the end of the day that it'll be back up. And I also put time chapters in all the in our videos so that you can go back and any specific part of the video that you want to zoom in on is very easy just to click that and you'll be right where you want to go.
Yeah, and for the links in mine, this is Hewie. I sent the links to Ron and he will put them in the show notes as well. So the links will be there.
Now the show notes are on YouTube. How is there a YouTube channel that I can subscribe to?
Yes, it's Tech for Senior. Yes, Tech for Senior. Yeah, just
Tech for
subscribe
Senior.
to Tech for Senior. Yeah, it's a channel. Just subscribe to it.
If you go to
Okay, great.
if you go to www.techforsenior.com, that's Tech for Senior, no S at the end, .com, there's information and links to everything that we talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, great. And my second comment was regarding that woman that was talking about her Outlook and Outlook email and how they're the same but different. Going forward with Windows 11, if any of you have purchased a Windows 11 computer and brought them home for the first time, Microsoft will force you to connect to your Wi-Fi and either log into or create your Microsoft Outlook logon account. It doesn't matter whether you use Outlook as your email client. Windows 11 requires, unlike Windows 10, that you absolutely mandatorily have to have a login to the Microsoft Live email account.
Unless you go offline during the installation, then it won't require it. So there are ways to bypass it. But you're right, most of it is based on a Microsoft account.
But you run a risk of not getting updates and all sorts of things without having a Microsoft account.
Yep.
It's not much difference from having those same thing with Apple requires you to have an Apple ID.
The key thing here for me is security, but that I want to impress upon people is
Right.
I had a woman who recently asked a question. Her husband passed away and she didn't know what the user ID and password was for his account. If his computer had been set up with a Microsoft account, you can set up an alternate email address to receive password reset notifications in case you do pass away. Someone tries to log on to your account and they don't have the password. Microsoft presents a little box saying, I don't have this option. Give me some other choices. And if in that email account, it was pre-configured to send an email address to the wife's email account, that wife could then reset her husband's password, even though he has passed away.
Right.
Very good point.
Good point. Excellent. Excellent. And of course, Apple has done this since day one. You've always required an Apple account. Google has, of course, since day one, always had Google account. And I think this is now everyone is going to need a Microsoft account, which just makes sense. Greg, do you have a question? Mr. Apple, Mr. Apple.
It's a response to Ray. At auto shows you can go to, and most of the manufacturers, instead of putting voltaic panels on the car, they now have it in the paint, and the paint is charged.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's quite costly, and you can order it on any new car that you get. Anyway, that's just information only.
Thanks, Greg.
So the technology is there.
Yeah. Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, I noticed, I don't know if there's a solution on when I copied the chats, that, I do Control A and selects all the chat comments. But when I paste it into Word, I have to go in and edit it in order to get the HTML links to become blue. It doesn't copy the original HTML link that you post, like when you post it, Ron.
Okay.
Depends on how you paste it into Word. If you do a right click when you want to paste it into Word, there is a selection where you can actually have it go in as HTML, where your links will be links, where it will not be just text.
I knew somebody would know the right answer. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the Edge browser that converts it to words. But if you're in the Chrome browser, as an example, it'll show the actual link.
Well, yeah, I've been using Control V, which is our common, copy paste, as Mr. Bill knows.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Thanks, Carl. Go ahead, Bill.
Yes, for Mike Ungerman, I was curious about why they insist on putting solar panels on the roof where you're actually penetrating your roof rather than putting them on the ground on stands. Could you enlighten us on that?
A lot has to do, obviously, with where you live and how much land you have. And like I'm in a subdivision with with houses fairly close together, and I do have a backyard, but if I were to put it in the backyard on a rack, I wouldn't be able to get the same number of panels in the space that's available. It is an option. If you're in a rural area, it's definitely an option.
Mike didn't cover this, and I don't know what his opinion is, but Tesla has something referred to as a solar roof, which is the entire roof is covered with panels as roofing.
Yeah, they build shingles. They're not shingles, they're tiles.
Thank you.
And each one is its own mini solar panel. And there's pros and cons. The whole system is more expensive than individual solar panels. I will probably take a look at that as we get into this. I'm trying to do this kind of from a top down. Today was just sort of an introduction as to what does it look like, and basically what does a complete system look like. And then we'll get into the planning stages. How do I plan for it? And then, okay, am I going to put it on the roof? Good point. Google actually has a rooftop solar analyzer that uses Google Earth and will show you the sides of your home and the ground around it as what's most conducive to locating solar. So there's ways to do that. And then we'll look into some of the complete systems, such as Tesla, which matches up with the power wall for batteries, if you decide to go that route, or Enphase, which uses their own battery system and has their own microinverter. So there's a number of different ways we can do it. And I'd be happy to take feedback too as to what people are most interested in seeing. But initially, we'll just go in through the step by step. How do you go about doing it if you want to do it?
Mike, the other thing a lot of people probably are having questions about is finances. And is this, hopefully you'll touch on that. Is this really an economic thing? Can the initial investment pay back, and what's the payback time? I think a lot of people would be interested in that.
Payback is big. one of the friends in the Central Florida Computer Society did his home in the rural area north of Orlando. And there were state incentives at the time, grants that he was able to get, as well as the federal solar energy credits. And he said it, he looked at it this way. At the time, you could invest your money in the stock market and get a 10% to 15% return. And he figured, if I invest my money in a solar installation, even with financing, what kind of a return will I get in the savings? And he decided to go solar for all the incentives he could get and the low financing at the time, because his investment dollars paid off more in solar than they did in the stock market.
What about hail?
Very good question. Over the last 3 weeks here in northern Orlando area, we have had 4 major thunderstorms come through, one with half-inch hail. And the day after, I didn't get up on a ladder, but I got my binoculars and stood in the backyard. And my panels have no indications of any degradation and no impact marks or anything. So yes, they all have to be rated, but obviously if you were to get melon size hail or baseball size hail, you might have some problems.
I see we have 3 questions left. Can we we're going to have to make them quick questions. Terry, do you have a quick one for us?
Yeah, hail was my primary question, but here in Oklahoma City, we're subject to it, and it makes our insurance go up. So added to that, and on the financial side, I wonder what it does to your insurance, the bill, and well,
one of the first things I did for planning was to contact the insurance company and say, okay, you know, it's time for renewal anyway, and I'm planning on going solar over the summer. Right. You tell me, you know, here's my estimated cost of the system, and are my rates going to go up? And they said no.
So this is obviously, yeah, this is obviously something, Terry, we're going to look at and talk about in the future. That'll be the next installment.
Thank you.
All right, Helen, quick question.
We live in a 55 plus community in Mesa, Arizona, and power on the roof, solar power on the roof is forbidden. Is there any way to deal with that?
Move. And it's probably not an HOA. An HOA, I know, cannot prevent it. But well, in a planned community like you're talking about, there could be regulations that prevent it.
And it's been that way, you know, for 25 years.
Have they tried to do a reassessment, since it's getting to be a more frequent?
Not that I know of, but we have a new manager, so maybe it'd be a good idea to ask.
Bring it up. Good time to bring it up. Yeah. Thanks, Helen.
Thank you.
And Greg, you get the last quick word.
Quick word. Wow.
The last quick word.
Okay. If you guys will look into your cost of whoever provides your electricity, like in Idaho, it's Idaho Power. If I put the solar panels, the arrays up, it'll take me almost 7.5 to 8 years to amortize it. If you look at California with PG&E, you can amortize it in less than 3 years. Reno, Nevada in 4 years. So you have to look at how much it's costing you versus how much it's going to save you from your electricity, from your company. Anyway, have a good week, you guys.
I'll just add to his comment. One of the biggest things for me was seeing that monthly electric bill go down, and that will be in part 2 next, either whenever Ron schedules it.
It'll be ready when you can put it up anytime you want. Go ahead, let me know. All right, everyone, thank you so much for coming. Another week's gone by, another great show. We will talk to everybody. Well, I guess maybe Thursday, and maybe we'll see you for learning Chromebooks. Don't forget, Chris Gould has her session in about half an hour. And don't forget, the premiere service will be starting. I put the links in the chat for our premiere video as well. You can watch that before Chris's show. So have a great week, and we'll see everyone soon. Bye now.
Bye, everybody.